Welcome to the podcast, Your Future in Sales and Marketing, the podcast that helps you make great career decisions. My name is Mike Dickson and I'm a professional sales and marketing recruiter. I love what I do, but my biggest frustration is seeing too many people not realizing their career potential. In this podcast, I'll introduce you to my network, an amazing group of business leaders in the biggest tier 1 organizations through to some super fast growth SMEs. They'll share their career journey and give you unique advice and insights on managing your career and leading a function and a business. Join me, Mike Dickson of AXR Recruitment and Search, to help guide your future in sales and marketing. In this episode, we meet Olivia Sutherland, Marketing Director of Krispy Kreme, where ideas and innovation come from every part of the business. Doggie doughnuts, a winner. Enjoy. Well, good morning. Hello and welcome everybody back to the Sales and Marketing Director Incubator, the program that helps you make great career decisions to maximize your career potential. My name is Mike Dickson, Director of the Sales, Marketing and Category Practice here at AXR Recruitment and Search. And this morning in the Incubator, we have Olivia Sutherland, Marketing Director of Krispy Kreme. Olivia, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Mike. Thanks for having me today.
That's great. Great to have you here. You're the second in your family to be in the incubator, which is amazing. Has your husband Andy maybe 9 months or so ago now. And Olivia's told me she's determined to beat Andy's downloads in the podcast, guys. So go hard. And for those of you who are listening live and aren't aware, that every episode's on podcast, Your Future in Sales and Marketing on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts. So let's get into it. Now, we started every podcast and every incubator this year with the same question, Liv, which is about your favorite brand, with the caveat that you can't pick your current brand or brand that you're working on. But what would yours be?
Oh, look, I bounce around a lot. And I'd say at the moment, my favorite brand is Alston Salt, which might seem a bit odd. But what I love about Alston Salt is they kind of challenge that belief that salt's a sort of commodity category. And I'm a big fan of the saying, there's no such thing as a commodity category, or brand, just a commodity mindset. So I love how they've played into their Australian heritage and provenance, salt that's produced here, a high quality product, beautiful packaging, sort of reminiscent of how salt used to sort of arrive, in these beautiful jars that are sort of show worthy on my dining room table. And of course, they've created a higher price. So I just think it's great. It's, good quality product, looks beautiful. And at the moment, I'm absolutely addicted to all their flavors and I put it on everything. So
that's very cool. Awesome. So, and I just love the whole taking on a commodity. I know I've mentioned this loads of times because it's one of my favorite companies, but we one of our clients, Muti, the tomato company.
Oh, I was going to say Muti, but I thought, I bet everyone says Muti.
No one said it yet, but
again, one of my favorites. I buy everything. I don't even look at the price anymore. I absolutely love their outdoor advertising. They really sort of zagged to the category norms and they've just kind of gone all out in their sort of passion for tomato and red, and I love it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we had Trish, the MD, on the previous episode. So, guys, if you want to know more Muti, then jump on to Trish's episode. Brilliant. I know she and the guys are listeners, so they're probably kind of feeling quite good about themselves. I think they came second in all of TAG this year as well. So they did very, very well. Right. Next question on you, Liv, before we jump into career. Now, I've obviously known you for a long time. You've lived in and are from the UK and lived in New Zealand and Australia, dotted around between the two. So you've kind of had this. In fact, you've lived in all the countries I've lived. So
yes.
I won't ask you which one's your favorite, but if you had to go somewhere next to live, is there another country that you would love to know?
Do you know, I'd love to go and spend some time in Asia. I've traveled there a lot, but I've never lived there. And I would just love to sort of live long enough to understand the culture a bit more rather than kind of popping in as a tourist and enjoying all the food and the beautiful scenery. I'd actually love to go and understand a bit more. Yeah. So probably anywhere in Asia.
Anywhere in Asia. Yeah, and they're also, every country's so different. I've traveled a bit in Asia and I think you have this kind of view Asia. And then you kind of go, how Indonesia is so different to Thailand, to Malaysia, to
so different.
Vietnam. They're all like these unique, very unique propositions, which is amazing. Yeah, cool. I'm with you on that. Right, let's get into it. So your career, currently marketing director of Krispy Kreme, will explore the pathway to Krispy Kreme, then I want to get into the business as well. So I think it's a really interesting organization you're working with and a really very cool brand. But how did you start your marketing career? What was your first role?
Well, it's a funny thing because I probably didn't know at the time, but I think my first ever job was probably my first ever marketing gig. I was 14 years old and I worked in my summer job for Jilly Jumpers, which was hand knitted jumpers, made from Scottish wool from the Isles. And it was Jilly Jumpers was on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, so a big tourist spot. And I think what I was on the floor selling jumpers and I got paid £1 an hour and then commissioned for what I sold. So I quickly learned my sales pitch was all around the brand positioning and the uniqueness of the brand positioning. So I would be saying, hey, all our jumpers are designed by Jilly, Jilly Jumpers on the door. The wool's hand spun in the Outer Hebrides and it's knitted by these local women. And I would open the back shop and there'd be all the women there knitting.
Wow.
It was like that. And I think it was like a total one-on-one lesson of being really true to your brand positioning, what's really differentiates you from others. And I remember just sweeping up the commission. It was great.
Fantastic. What a really cool first role. But, and did you sell many jumpers?
I did. I went back 2 summers in a row, actually.
Yeah.
I used to buy them for all the family as well. They were very 1980s. No one wears them now.
Yeah. Oh. Is it still around?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Oh, I'll have to check. But so when you moved to Australia, how did that happen? Where did what stage in your career did you come down? Did you come down under?
Yeah. Look, I was working at Kraft Foods and I met my husband, Andrew, and we decided that we would have a year's honeymoon and we backpacked, sort of Egypt, India, Asia, Africa, ended up in Australia, and we'd both been here before on sort of gap years from uni. And we were like, oh, we love it. We had, I think, about 2-3 weeks worth of money left. And we were like, if we can get a job, we'll stay. If not, it's back to the UK. And we were really lucky. We both got jobs. So it was fantastic.
What was your first role in Australia?
Kellogg's.
Yeah.
Loved it. Special K brand manager, but still one of my favorite brands and jobs. Yeah.
Oh, another one of our clients, guys, in case you're wondering, but that's all good. And then you jump back and forward a bit to New Zealand and Australia. Andy being a Kiwi, I guess that's part of the reason, or was it just the way the career path went?
Look, we got offered a transfer with PepsiCo to the Auckland business from Australia. And because Andy is a Kiwi, we thought it would be so great for the kids to go and live in New Zealand and actually understand their heritage more. And it was actually also very beneficial for our careers because you'll find yourself in Australia often looking after Australia and New Zealand. And it's kind of naive as a marketing person to think that New Zealand's the same. It has a very unique consumer, very, very a strong love of their local brands and their local culture. So actually, for me, living in New Zealand has really helped me understand that. And I can leverage that even today at Krispy Kreme. We're just about to launch a New Zealand specific collab donut that's from a well-loved Kiwi brand. So it sort of helps me understand that the market is different and don't sort of treat it all as one.
Yeah, having lived there too, I must admit, I was naive before I went to New Zealand, thinking it was about an Australian extension.
So different, so unique, and such a really beautiful, strong culture and language, sort of colloquialisms of their own. And your brand really has to understand that and play to that to sort of become part of the New Zealand fabric.
And, the boys can make a choice in which rugby team to play for now.
Yes. We were really lucky. We were there for 2 Rugby World Cups, to which the All Blacks won both. So I thought we timed it, perfectly.
Yeah. I moved to New Zealand in 2011. Only over a couple of years, but when the World Cup was on, it was actually the big sell to me. It was like, Mike, if you come to New Zealand, we've already got tickets for all the games for you and your family. You can take clients. I'm like, all right.
That would have done it for me too.
I'm in. But and I'm also interested. You kind of came back and forward a bit from Australia to New Zealand, and later in your career, you. And I'm more jumping forward a bit, but I'm really interested in that move into NFP because you worked for Thank You, which was, I know it was a contract role, but I'm interested in terms of how different was that as a marketer going into, I think it's a really cool brand. But you're a very commercial marketer. You've worked with some of the best tier ones and PepsiCo and Kellogg's and refined as commercial thinking. You walk into an NFP. Is it different?
Look, I think one of the things in your career is to really push yourself into different business models per se. So as you said, I worked in a lot of traditional FMCGs. When I went to New Zealand after working for PepsiCo, I worked for Griffin's, which is private equity. And that was completely different. And that really sharpened up my commercial ability.
Right.
It's weekly sales. It's, I learn a lot about productivity, how to save dollars in the middle of the P&L without sort of downgrading your product. I learned a lot in terms of when you change up your business model, you generally learn a lot. So sorry, back to Thank You. When I joined Thank You, there was so much chatter in the marketing world about your purpose and your cause and having a brand that was led by emotion over rational. And I really wanted to experience how that impacted not only the brand, but the consumer's pull to the brand and the culture. And at Thank You, I got a really deep insight into the power of that and how genuinely galvanized the team was behind and how genuinely motivated the team was to go above and beyond. But the downside was they weren't highly commercial. And I think that was the difficult thing because they worked in a lot of different categories. Some were growing better, some had higher GP. And, I was trying to sort of mold it to, go where the sales are and go where the profit is. But it was very difficult because the passion was almost, we can do everything at once. So I think you need to balance the commerciality with your cause. But I highly recommend people go and be brave and go to different business models. I'm currently now with more of a sort of owner model. And you just learn so much when you put yourself into different environments.
Yeah. I think the ownership structure does change the business's philosophy and thinking a lot and therefore consequently how you work.
Yes.
And we tend to look at organizations by size or by category, which does dictate to an extent a difference. But the ownership structure makes a huge difference from privately owned to private equity to listed, and where they're listed makes a difference too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of my learnings by swapping business models is that really balancing that short-term delivery to that long-term protection of your brand. And I think that's always the dilemma. Every business has really, stretchy targets. And so you've got to deliver the now, but you've got to make sure if you're in the marketing chair that you're actually going to leave the brand in a better position than when you left it. So it's always balancing those two things.
And does Thank You as a business or an NFP, does it have the same sort of KPIs as a marketer out of interest?
Well, it's really interesting, actually. The KPIs were more around how much money we had donated, so percentage of profit, and how many people we were helping, which is hugely motivating. But I also think you need to balance that off with, ultimately you are here to make money. What you're doing with your money is fantastic, but, the more money you can generate, the more people you can help. So I think it's just sort of always being mindful of, you're ultimately running a business.
Yeah, right. You then moved back to PepsiCo and promoted to marketing director of ANZ Snacks, so big role within that organization, and now at Krispy Kreme leading marketing, which is what we'll spend a lot of today talking about, Liv. Why did Krispy Kreme want you as a kind of this tier one trained FMCG marketer?
Oh, interesting. Look, I think there's probably two sides to it. Why was I drawn to Krispy Kreme, I think, as well? Tier ones like Kellogg's, Kraft, PepsiCo, they're phenomenal places to work. They're a really, strong brains trust. You learn a lot on the job and you get some great training. But for me personally, the higher up I went, I was really missing that hands-on approach to being a brand marketeer. I love wrapping my arms around a brand and I get real satisfaction from owning my brand and owning my outcomes. And so I think for me, being at Krispy Kreme, the culture really suits my personality. It's super entrepreneurial. We can move really quickly on ideas. You can sort of have an insight and turn it into an action straight away. And, great example of that is I was working in drive-through and I kept seeing all these people come through with their dogs in drive-through. And I was like, I have dogs. Dogs are part of your family. And I was like, we should do doggy donuts for International Dog Day.
Oh, cool.
People love their dogs as much. What about something for you, something for your dog? So we launched our first set of doggy donuts last year and amazing buzz, PR coverage, to the point where we've actually now just launched doggy donuts for Christmas gifting. They launched this week. And again, massive, buzz. So I love the Krispy Kreme for that nature. And I love it suits my personality that I can kind of run with ideas and turn things around really quickly and see the results straight away. It's just harder in a bigger company sometimes to do that.
And they were getting in you a particular skill set as a why you, because I guess, in my mind, I could explore the evolution of that business, but it's a kind of retail business, quirky brand. You're this big tier one FMCG marketer. So what was in it for them?
Yeah, look, Krispy Kreme, we're on a massive growth trajectory. We've doubled the size of the business in the last 5 years. Opening stores into new geographies like New Zealand, far north Queensland, Tasmania. So really need that sort of more of a traditional mindset as well to manage beyond shops. So, we're now in Woolworths. So it's more of an FMCG mindset and kind of, we want the brand to look and feel the same in every environment. We want that kind of brand experience to be consistent and distinctive. So I think, hopefully that's what I'm bringing to the party.
Cool. And as a recruiter, I'm always interested how people make these kind of moves. So how did it happen for you?
Oh, I remember just thinking I felt sort of too far away from what I loved in my job. Yeah. I felt like, in a big job, you become very P&L focused. And I just wanted to do brand cool stuff. And that's where my natural spirit is. And I remember just looking at my phone one morning and there was, marketing director Krispy Kreme. And I was like, oh, yes, that's me. That's my job. And it was probably just maybe a bit random, but I just went for it and I got it. And I kind of never looked back. I love it. Yeah.
Wow. So job ads sometimes work.
Well, yeah, job ads work. And be brave, like follow your heart. I just remember feeling excited. Yeah. And I think if you feel that, there's something in it and follow it along the line.
Yeah, completely.
And sort of level of job satisfaction's gone through the roof. So
right. I think some things I always talk to people who are nervous about moving and often feel they have to be in a particular emotional state to make that move in terms of preparedness, readiness, commitment. My view is, well, you never know. And going to meet an organization doesn't mean to say you're going to leave your current business and move there.
Oh, look, it's gut feel,
but
right?
You've got to be open-minded to the conversation because otherwise, what are you missing? You could be missing your dream role. You don't know about it.
Yeah, and listen to your gut. Your gut's it's more than a feeling. It's built up from sort of lots of touch points, and dare to do things. It was the same with New Zealand. I remember Andy coming home saying, hey, we could go and live in New Zealand. And we were like, yes, let's do it. Yeah. Didn't truly think, maybe it through, but it was one of the best experiences we've had. So just,
So talk about your mandate at Krispy Kreme. So what have you kind of got an overarching kind of mandate that you've got to achieve as marketing director?
Well, we're looking to double the size of the business again.
Wow.
So, for me, I guess as marketing director, I really want to hold a high level of brand cool and brand love that we have. And as you increase your distribution footprint in your network, you've got to make sure that you don't kind of lose that heartland of your brand. So I guess for me, it is doing things that keep the brand buzzworthy and on the radar, such as our Oodie collaboration this year, some of our amazing LTOs with, Caramel or Biscoff. So for me, it's making sure the brand maintains that sort of level of cool status and the high level of brand love that we have. Great.
And is that the DNA of the brand, or how would you describe it?
Look, the DNA is very anchored in social connectivity and belonging and enjoyment. Our tagline is share a box of smiles. And I can guarantee you, if you've ever walked into a barbecue with a box of Krispy Kreme, you suddenly make a whole lot new friends. It really is that brand that brings smile people's, brings a smile. So I think for me, it's making sure that we don't lose that magic and that specialness of the brand.
Yeah, great. And is Krispy Kreme Australia part of Krispy Kreme USA? How does it kind of connect together?
Yeah, so we are connected to the US business, but we're also very local. So we've got 42 stores that are all owned by us, so no franchisees, which as a marketer is great because it gives us a lot of flexibility to trial things, and it really helps for consistency across campaigns because we can issue one set of point of sale, one set of new products. And we also have really good partners locally. So we've had a 10-year relationship with 7-Eleven, phenomenal partners. BP, we've also recently expanded our geography with BP into Tasmania. And more recently, we've expanded into Woolworths. So, we're growing our footprint.
And I'm interested in that because there seems to be this evolution from a retail business to retail and wholesale, different ways in which you're taking your products to market. Just describe in more detail the business model today, so all the kind of touch points with consumers.
So it is a game of distribution. At the moment, as I said, we've gone into new geographies like New Zealand in the last 5 years. We've also expanded into grocery with Woolworths in the last 24 months. The biggest barrier to the brand has been accessibility and availability. So by increasing our footprint, that actually, helps consumers sort of get us more often and actually find us. So yeah, it's really, the business model at the moment is, rapid growth with distribution being a key element of that.
So what could be next? How else do you kind of, do you look at the market and think, right, there's more channels, there's more ways to kind of develop that distribution? What could we see Krispy Kreme developing into?
Oh, look, we're not nearly fully optimized, but I can't give away any secrets. We want to double down as well with a lot of our partners. I mean, 7-Eleven are fantastic, and we've got a big opportunity with 7-Eleven. They're increasing their footprint as well. We're still opening stores. We'll open 3 to 4 new stores next year. So I feel we've still got opportunity within the current framework to grow our footprint. Yeah.
So it's not always about the what's new. There's still kind of growth within what you're doing as well.
Absolutely, and to really sort of work alongside our partners and really nurture those relationships.
Yeah. Now I kind of love. I look at your role as marketing director. It's a brand that seems to me to be a lot about innovation, fun, creativity. But it's evolving, right? So there's a lot of variables there to kind of try and keep control of, because you've got these commercial goals as well. So from a creativity perspective, how does that happen in Krispy Kreme? Give us a bit of insight.
So you mentioned innovation, and we do have a really high-paced innovation calendar. We have up to 15 LTOs, so limited time offers, which are donuts that sort of come out for 4 to 5 weeks. And we also have some that are linked to seasonal. So we've just had Halloween, Krispy Screams, Christmas, Crispy Mist is up next. And then we have LTOs where we collaborate with, Biscoff, Caramilk, Oreos. So yes, a very high-paced innovation calendar for product. And then we also have kind of our over and above. So things like our Doggie donuts, our OD. This year we launched an OG in a can, which is basically a canned coffee with OG flavor, which was absolutely the bomb. It sold out in like 10 days. Didn't realize it was going to be so popular. So we also innovate things that we call footfall drivers. So people come into store for the canned coffee and they buy some donuts. So they come into store for the Doggie donuts and they buy some human donuts. So there's kind of a dual path of innovation. But you also mentioned creativity. And I think creativity comes in lots of different forms. And what's obvious for marketing is the LTOs and the new creative campaigns. But for me, the real strength and creativity is that day-to-day ability to think around problems or complexities, and actually to truly come with your sort of sass and creative hustle to actually work around things. Because, business is just like a series of complex issues. Something goes awry every day and off plan. And the good teams and the good, the strong players are those who are able to kind of work around it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So I think a lot of marketers are probably attracted to marketing because of the creative side. And often the reality is somewhat different. Creativity kind of sits somewhere else. There's a lot of project management.
It is.
And I get that, there's that in every marketing role. But in your environment, it's clearly different. Is there because it sounds almost like it's a culture of creativity, but there must be a lot of stuff you try doesn't work.
Of course.
How does that go down? Is that just a way, some you win, some you lose?
Look, I think failure is the path to learning. It's, it really is. You don't get up as a child and walk or run a marathon. You get up, fall over, you crawl, you stumble, I think that's part of life's journey. And you want to be in a culture that supports that, because that's when you do find the things that really work. And, when you fail at something, you always have a learning that you can take into the next job.
And that kind of must drive like propensity for risk taking, which I think you need a little bit, because sometimes I feel organizations get a bit bottled up by the stage gate process and the time it takes, and then result kind of is dulled a little bit, and you know, you kind of, this fear of failures obviously drives that decision making a little bit. But I get the sense that's not the case.
Look, I think it comes from the culture. I think I really feel very lucky at Krispy Kreme. My CEO has been in the business a long time, and he's willing to take measured risk. We're not a belt and braces. We don't have lots of money for research. So often it is, we've got 3 or 4 data points and it's a bit of gut feel. And ultimately, I wouldn't overinvest in a risk, but you can try something small. We can try something in one store. We can try something in one state. Then we can see if it's got traction and we can go for it. So I feel really it's about the culture you're in, and find a culture that suits your personality.
Yeah.
I'm naturally very sort of hustle and sass.
Yeah.
So big environments for me, it killed my natural spirit.
Yeah.
And find what suits you and work to your strengths. That's where you'll have more job satisfaction and you'll go faster.
Yeah. And really interesting. Is there a risk that you go too far in terms of diluting a brand or what it stands for, when you've got this really strong creative ideas agenda?
Yeah, I think any brand, you need to make sure whatever you're doing ladders back to your brand purpose or positioning.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you're saying the same thing, but maybe just in a different way. So, Doggie Doughnuts is all about connectivity, sharing, belonging. Your pet is part of your family. Yeah. So whatever you do, make sure it ladders back to that core essence of what your brand stands for.
Right. And the ideas come from marketing or anywhere, or where did the ideas come from?
Oh, look, I'm a big believer that good ideas come from anyone. I don't think marketing has the right over any good idea. But the best way, I think, to find ideas is to go out and understand your consumer. So, go and work in store. We've got different types of stores. Chatswood, occasion, Chatswood is a small store. It's very sort of coffee and a couple of donuts. Whereas Liverpool is a really big drive-through store. And it's, people buy double dozens for, kids' soccer match, end of finals, or, just passed my exams, or, hey, I just managed to get through my exams. It's that sort of celebration sort of occasion. So go and understand your consumer, understand what their needs are.
Great. And as a marketer, a leader of marketing, are your KPIs different? Are they the same as you'd have them in a PepsiCo, for instance? Yeah,
look, ultimately, when you're a director, you wear 2 hats. You wear your functional hat, and you wear the hat which is the sort of making sure the business hits or exceeds its budget. So that's always kind of your number one KPI. But as a marketing team, I really kind of prize my team on being highly commercial. So while yes, we're very much about hitting the budget, and we're very focused on that, we also have to balance long-term, brand love. So we have, brand tracking like many companies do. We look at our progress through the funnel. We look at it by customer. And our ultimate kind of goal is to keep brand love high. So we're really aware of sort of balancing the short term and the long term, and really aware of we have to build that emotional value in our brand while doing, sort of net sales driving activities. So, Caramilk does both, Doggie Doughnuts does both. Udi did a great job, so make sure that neutral ground is there.
Now you've got a business which is, brand love, high and emotional connection, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So as a marketing leader, how do you kind of connect the people who work for you to that? Because that's got to be where the magic happens.
Yeah. Look, I think it goes back to what I said, know your consumer. So go and work in stores, go and work at different shifts, go and walk around the factory floor. I did 2 shifts in the factory at Christmas, and I learned so much, how difficult
really
pink sticky icing is. It gets all over your hands, on a hot day. So actually we changed it, don't, kind of get into the guts of it. I learned how tricky it was to open our boxes. So, now we double crease it? How can we help? So really get into it. And just listen to people that, work in different functions. Understand, I always call them the ugly problems, or the ugly truth. Understand and turn that rock over, and don't be afraid to tackle it. You might not have an answer, but someone will. And if you talk to enough people, you'll maybe find the answer yourself. But don't shy away from the kind of tricky things or the difficult things.
So you encourage, so you have your team, the people who work for
Yeah.
you, they're close to the business. Because sometimes that's not the case. Marketers, I think the ivory tower marketer is largely gone, but still exists, I guess. But actually it feels like your interconnectedness across the business is quite high to kind of that drive that emotional.
I'm a big fan of rolling your sleeves up and getting stuck in. We have this brilliant program at Krispy Kreme called Dough Force, where we can take, up to, I think it's 6 dozen original glaze, and we can take it to frontline workers, hospitals, anyone who's kind of done a community service. And I kind of really encourage my team to go and do that as well, because when you hand over that bag of donuts, that share a box of smiles really comes to life, and you see it for real. So it's trying to build up that connection, that emotional connection with brand, where you really see it in action and you can feel it yourself.
Yeah.
And so you build your intuition of what you know is going to work. And then also you build your intuition of, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah. Cool. I want to kind of move into kind of advice and kind of section now, because I think there's your career has given you lots of different perspectives, and I'd love to kind of just explore some of those in terms of, for others who look at the role of marketing director and think, I think I want to do that. And that's the whole purpose of this program is to explore the pathways there, but also to unpick the role to an extent as well. But a few more general things as well. So we've talked previously in the incubator, I think it was with Donna Mulholland, who's a new marketing director at Bacardi, about the when you join a new business, there's this opportunity to kind of supercharge learning, which I think for those people who perhaps stay in one organization for a long time, perhaps miss. And I completely get there's benefits with people who move around lots and those who don't. But what advice would you give about taking advantage of that onboarding period and as a learning kind of opportunity?
Yeah. I think go with the mindset that you know nothing, and just listen and learn. Talk to as many different people and as many different functions as you can. And then sort of do that for about 6 to 8 weeks. Don't feel the need to contribute. Don't feel the need to prove you're really smart and you are the right hire. Just learn and absorb. And then actually kind of write down what you learn and go back to it and check.
Right.
And you'll start to see themes across the business. And those themes for me often become the big issues that you need to tackle, or the big strengths that you need to keep leveraging. One of the phenomenal strengths at Krispy Kreme is the people. Everyone has an amazing story. When I worked on the Christmas shift, I worked next to a gentleman that had come over from Somalia, and he's packing donuts while Krispy Kreme was helping him do his forklift license, so he can get into the warehouse and get a better paid job. And I love that about Krispy Kreme. It really does. We believe everyone's original. Like our original glaze, we believe everyone is a wonderful original, and we want to really nurture that. And I just kind of see it across our business, and it's one of the draw cards for me. I absolutely love that investment in people, and I think that's what makes Krispy Kreme a great place to be, because the culture is the same as the brand. It's connectivity, sociability, enjoyment.
I think some organizations are really good at onboarding, and some are more chaotic. But I think it's incumbent on you as an individual. Because what happens is, we've got this diary that's pre-populated with all these meetings and immersion you're going to do. Life gets in the way. People you're going to meet get busy. They cancel the meeting, and suddenly that beautifully structured onboarding can kind of dissipate a little bit. But it's on you to kind of put it together. It's not HR set it up. With your line manager. If you're lucky.
Yeah.
But actually, my recommendation, guys, is just really dig in those first few months. No one expects a lot of deliverables. It's you're there just to your point.
Yeah.
Listen, learn, ask questions, get out, but take ownership of it. If a meeting gets cancelled, you rebook it or go above and beyond. If you're working in manufacturing, nothing about getting on the factory floor, then get on the factory floor and have a look. Connect to all parts of the organization, because that sets your beginnings of the stakeholder relationships you'll need in your role for the rest of your job there, the rest of your career there.
I love the phrase "drive it like you stole it," and I'm
cool.
I'm a big believer in that. So you make your own path. I always say to my team, good leaders create direction and take others with you.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you arrive in chaos, it's better because you have to create your own direction. You have to muddle your way through it, and through that you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And just enjoy like the first few weeks, because you have fresh eyes and you see things other people don't, and soon you'll be kind of, those eyes will be closed and you'll be in the norm of the business. Hence, write down what you've learned and go back and reflect on it.
Yeah. Drive it like you stole it.
Drive it like you stole it.
And we have our intro promo for the pod there. That's excellent. Now, I'm interested in your experience there when you were approached about a new role, and obviously you've made moves throughout your career. What process, if you have a standard one or if it's different, but do you go through to kind of assess a potential new company or opportunity?
Yeah, look, for me, cultural fit is most important, especially if you're joining at an exec level. You really need to be able to, I think, get on with your peers in a constructive way. So I think for me, when you're joining an exec, ask to meet the exec, have a coffee off-site, understand more about why they're there, get a feeling for the business, and ask some questions. I asked, what do you think our biggest barrier to growth is? And then I always ask, what do you think our biggest strength is? And are we leveraging it enough? So understand if, you fit with that exec and how the exec are tied to the business. So I think that's really important. Second thing for me personally, what I've discovered is when I have a natural affinity with the brand. So when I just feel I can relate to that brand, I enjoy it so much more. I put more effort and time in, and I know that therefore I get a better outcome. So I think if you can find a brand that sort of you really understand, you'll have a lot more fun along the way, and you'll produce better results.
Do you think that brand kind of affinity or brand love is that important? Because it's interesting, because some brands out there, it's hard to love. They're functional. They provide a viable role, and I look at some marketers who work and I think, oh, good on you, but it's not. Some categories are hard to.
Well, I think you have part of being a leader is you have to find the good in everything, right?
Yeah.
You have to find the awe in everyone and everything. Yeah. So, I worked on hand soap. I don't love hand soap, but the awe was that it was, every time I washed my hands, I was donating money to someone else having clean hands, which, has a whole positive impact for their life, beyond what you can imagine. They don't even, at Thank You, what we discovered was that if you could bring fresh water to a village, the girls didn't have to walk 2 miles to get fresh water a day, and therefore they weren't missing school. So, the repercussions can be enormous. So, yeah, find the good, find the bigger good.
So there's purpose and meaning.
Definitely.
And if the business or the brand, they're not clear, can't articulate that, then that's perhaps when you start to question.
Or you try and do it. You find your good. When I was in private equity, I was kind of shocked at the amount of we have to cut product, we have to swap out this for this cheaper ingredients. I was kind of really shocked by it. But actually what I realized that my job was to still drive that emotional connection brand, and still make sure our product was as good as it could be for the price that we were charging. So you've got to turn it around and find what's the good that you're doing and how does that relate to your values. So you stay, motivated in environments that you might find a bit challenging, or working on a brand that, you don't have a natural first off connection with.
I think that's really, really good advice. Great. And so looking back on your career, long way to go, still, but if you were to reflect, you've got to this point, would you do it differently? Or is this, do you feel it is what it is?
Oh, look, I think no regrets. Everything's a learning path. You can't say, I should have done this or I should have done that, because you made the decision at the time for a reason with the knowledge and resource you had. So everything, learn from, enjoy, think about how it can serve you well in the future, or how you can share the learning with someone else. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think it's, life is just a gathering of experiences, and people often ask me, for example, oh, Mike, you've lived in different cities in the world, which one do you enjoy? I say, I love them all.
For different reasons,
yeah,
right?
They're all different. It's like jobs. They're all great, and not every moment might have been great all the time. But
if you're sort of stimulated by variety, that suits you. If you're the sort of person that just loves being in the house next door to your mum, do that. Just do what's right for you.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Next topic, and I want to spend a few minutes on this if we can now, about balance in life. So your mum, your family's growing up, but you've kind of you've got this busy career. Your partners, Andy's had a busy career. You've moved all around the place. How do you create the balance, which I think is particularly important? It feels that life just gets busier and busier and busier. But for you, how do you make it work?
Look, I think there's a couple of things. It feels less like balance, more like integration. I'm a big believer that I come as a whole. You know, my whole package is I work and I have children, and I have a husband, and I like to do things out of work. So don't treat it as a trade-off between one or the other, that you're trying to balance it. I think just get the integration of the mix right. And sometimes it's just on a daily basis. You know, don't have a grand plan. I try to have grand plans. It doesn't always work. Just take every day as it rolls. You know, have a strong partner in crime. You know, Andy's an equal, you know, partner in the family and in the, you know, the career. And at times we've gone ahead or behind each other on our sort of career ladder, and one of us has taken more a role with the kids, or less role with the kids as we've done that. So just have that partnership that works for your whole plan, your life.
And do you feel that in recent years, maybe COVID's done something positive around creating more organizational awareness of the importance of balance and the impact on health, and how, because I think the two are intrinsic linked to performance as well. And I think, you know, in my view, looking at lots of organizations, businesses are starting to land on good patterns and good cultures, but there's a few who I worry haven't got there, or are going to snap back to more traditional, or snapping back to more traditional. Hey, I need you here. I need you here every minute of every day type thing.
Look, for us, COVID was revolutionary in apart from homeschooling, which I am very clearly no teacher. But it was revolutionary in the fact that we were at home, and you know, you could actually get the kids more involved as well in the chores. So, you know, you're finishing school at 3, you can cook supper, or you can set the table. I've got older kids, you know, you can hang out the laundry. And then that balance has stayed in our household. You know, it was kind of a good jump for me of kind of rebalancing. And then I also think the hybrid policy now that we have, say at Krispy Kreme, where, you know, 2-3 days in the office, for me, it's just so different to my prior life of trying to chuck the kids out of the car and race to work. And it makes me feel so much more relaxed that I've got a couple of days where it's not frantic in the morning. And again, I can balance it with Andy. You know, what days are you at home? Let's try and be different days from home so the kids get a calmer start to the morning. So for me, it's brilliant. And I love as well, you know, in our office, we've got a couple of, you know, husbands and fathers who leave at 4:30 to pick up their kids. And I love that. I want to encourage that. You know, I think it's brilliant to see the balance. And yeah, they'll probably go online for an hour later, or maybe they got off an hour earlier this morning. But, you know, you can still manage your workload and, you know, manage your family at the same time.
It's definitely a question that we get asked as recruiters here at AXR. You know, in the top 1 or 2 questions now is just, you know, tell me a bit about where this business has landed, or what their philosophy is to hybrid working or to balance in life. And it just wouldn't have been a question, you know,
well,
3-4 years ago.
We're reading about Unilever trying a 4-day week at the moment.
Yeah, they've launched it in Australia, I think.
Yeah,
I think they've trialed it in New Zealand. I'm sure they just launched it this week in Australia.
Yeah, I read they trialed it in New Zealand. So I think it's great. The world's changing. I think it's really important that people, you know, focus more on their well-being, their total well-being.
Yeah. Okay, so career-wise, you've got, you know, obviously clearly loving Krispy Kreme, but looking further ahead, you know, do you set goals about where you eventually want to get to, or what's next for you?
I have my dream that I'd like to be a TV chef. So, you know, maybe you'll see me on TikTok. It's never too late, right? But I also actually would love to, I'd love to be a GM of small to medium business. I really, really enjoy working through the P&L mix. And it's funny, the sort of more I've progressed in my career, the more I've seen it as like a jigsaw. And, you know, you've got to find all the pieces across the different functions and put the P&L together to create that profitable path. And I kind of get a deep satisfaction out of it that I never used to get before. Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to have that challenge to see, you know, if I could do that. I think that would be a really good next step for me.
So is that GM or TV chef?
Well, who knows, right? It could go either way. I mean, some of the influencers on TikTok are charging 50 grand for a 15-minute. So, you know, you never know, Mike.
Right, fair enough. Brilliant. I need to get some of that. So a lot of people are listening to the podcast, Liv, are doing so because they're serious about their career. They really want to kind of get the most out of it. And that's everything we're trying to do. So if we could try and sum up, just to finish off, 3 pieces of advice that you would give those to who aspire to be a marketing director, what would that be?
Look, I think it's really important to be true to yourself and your own values, and really understand what your values are, and put yourself in a situation that is really in line with those values. So you will actually grow and expedite your career a lot more if you're kind of in the same integrity flow as your company, who you're with. And as your roles get bigger, make sure you do that, because you spend a lot of time at work, and I'm a fundamental believer in you should have fun at work. So, make sure you're kind of in flow with the culture and the environment that you're in. I think my second piece of advice is that, as you go up in your career, you tend to manage people more and more. And I think it's really important. And it's one of my kind of fundamental beliefs that everybody has a superpower. And part of your responsibility as a manager is to help them find it and let it shine and bring it out. And that really, for me, has encouraged my teams to all feel, I hope, really valued. And when you find someone who has a different skill to someone else, then that's a really great combination. So, I can say to my team, oh, go and see so-and-so because they're really good at that. Or, she's really good at P&Ls. Go and check your P&L with her. And actually, it creates a nice team bond. And again, it kind of goes to that sum of the parts can be greater. And it's allowing your team to have that vulnerability to say, I'm not very good at this. And it's not saying that as a negative. I'm also a big believer in push your strengths as far as you can. The things that you're not as good at, you're always going to struggle to get better at. So just really have towering strengths. So really understand your people and really find their individual awe. And then the third point was something actually Mike and I were talking about earlier, which, be vulnerable. It's one of the hardest things, because I've always felt, if I say I don't really know that, or if I say, look, I'm not really sure if this is a good idea, well, people think I don't know my job. But actually, I think if you can, be brave and say, look, I haven't got all the answers, but this is what I do know. I'm happy to take a risk. I think it's a good idea. And then, if it does pay off, that's great. If it doesn't, you've learned something. But, don't think you have to know everything. Put yourself out there, test yourself, expose yourself every now and then. And, you might be surprised at actually the results that come back to you.
Great advice. Fantastic
Thanks.
advice. Liv, that's been wonderful. Really enjoyed talking with you this morning. Guys, Liv's our 54th guest in the incubator, and you can catch the previous 53 as well as Liv's episode, which will land this time next week on the podcast I mentioned before, Your Future in Sales and Marketing, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Next up on the podcast is Imran Khan. Imran is the managing director of TCC Distributors, ex-sales director of Arnott's. So jump on this time in 2 weeks' time. Now, guys, our mission is to help you make great career decisions. And for those of you perhaps might be new to HR or listen to the podcast for the first time, there's loads of stuff we can do to help you. We produce salary guides which map out the career pathway within sales, marketing, and category. Some really great trends and insights that link back to some advice that our guests have given us in the incubator as well. We produce guides on becoming interview fit, how to manage your LinkedIn profile, how to get the most out of your job search, or just understand your career goals. We produce a monthly report called the Sales Marketing Collective, which is a real kind of capturing and data on who's who and who's moved where in the marketplace. So some great insights there. So connect with any of the consultants here at XR. We can give you lots and lots to help you. So without further ado, thanks for that once again, Liv. That was great.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you all here back again in 2 weeks' time.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast from AXR Recruitment and Search. We're passionate about helping you get the most out of your sales and marketing career. Keep listening as we bring you more inspiring journeys and advice from Australia's sales and marketing leaders. You just can't get this career insight anywhere else. My name is Mike Dickson. See you next time on Your Future in Sales and Marketing.